Town Hall main conference room. First item on the agenda is public comment. It appears there's no one here from the public to make a comment. So we'll move on. Second item is minutes. We're going to defer it, handling of the minutes until the next meeting, and which puts Tommy Miller on stage to talk about April results.
Perfect. So we'll take a look at a couple key performance indicators. We'll start with the total revenue in the month of April. We did $85,000. To put that in perspective, over prior year, last year we did right around 75 for a number last year. Excuse me, 78. I'm sorry. The reason we didn't see even more growth, we lost the first 5 days of the month. We were still snow covered. So you'll notice those numbers are pretty good. Total rounds for the month were up 11%. So a nice trend to start with in April. Where we are excited, we've seen some pretty substantial lift in the greens fee number year over year. The year over year variance actually up 11.6. That the dues line is the one that's down a little bit to prior year. And the reason for that dues line being down a little bit is we had a lot of new members who made their first and second installments last year during the month of April. So some of that money was to kind of catch up. We repositioned the way we defer out the revenue this year. So the deferred revenue will actually start in April and continue all the way through until October. So while that dues line is down $8,600 to prior year, at the end of the year we'll actually catch back up on that. So our target number for membership revenue for the month or for the year will be $260,000. Right now we're at $265,000. So, and to put that in perspective, last year we did $225,000.
So just to back up, you're saying that this year you're amortizing the revenue over a longer period than last year?
Correct.
Which means that each monthly piece
would be,
all else being equal, would be lower.
It will be, and where you'll see the significant growth in the dues line will be those October and November months because of the way we're spreading it currently.
Because in 2014 you had already recognized all of it or most of it.
Well, part of it was when we had a lot of new members who came to the club last year, they made an initial down payment to start their payment plan. Since they already have equity in the club or they've been involved in the club, we've gone ahead and just taken their first payment out as of April 30th. So that's why you see that little bit of a discrepancy there. But like I said, the nice thing about that revenue number is very solid over prior year. And like I said, the growth on the greens fee line is pretty significant. So a pretty good story to tell right there. The other thing that we want to touch on a little bit as far as April goes, we booked a lot of outings. Our outing number, very, very healthy for this year. We're at 207,000 recognized with another about 60,000 in the pipeline. So that's a pretty significant number for us. To give you an idea, a percentage of our Casper budget, we're at about 415%. So, as we just kind of comb through here, everything, obviously there's some significant labor savings that you'll notice on the golf op side. That's from us being closed that first week. And then also, that little slower transition period where we're onboarding staff a little later, stuff like that. So that number will jump up in May, but it'll still be under plan. So there is one other kind of interesting item here on the food and beverage line item. You'll notice on the expense line there's a $2,000 charge. That's about $1,600 different. What we did is we actually paid the liquor license in the month of April as opposed to the month of May. So, and again, a little bit of growth there over prior year, but again, part of it is the way the dues line was amortized, and also there was a couple other expenses that we went ahead and just kind of bit the bullet on in April that we'll see some savings in May. So Any questions on the P&L?
And obviously there's monies that were budgeted for March that, because of the weather, never came to fruition.
Correct. So we budgeted about $44,000 in the month of March, and then we budgeted a significant number. If you look at the revenue to budget, we budgeted pretty significantly in the month of April, with the thought process last fall being there's no way we can get a winter as bad as the one we had previous. Now, with that being said, we'll be down to plan, but we're going to make up a lot of that number in the next 3 to 4 months. Just based on the dues line. Also, and we're going to touch a little bit here on May, but just in May results alone, we're going to be up about 23% on rounds. And then as far as revenue goes, we're going to be up about 16%. So, pretty good story to tell there.
Tell me, how many members do we have now?
243 plus. I think we have another 5 or 6 in the pipeline.
And how many did we have last year? Do you know?
Right around the 225 number.
Okay. Any
other
questions
questions?
on April? So May is looking good. Tell us.
We're going to talk a little bit about
some
May.
more about that. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me interject, just to talk about April. I did send out. Also we have this peer group. Where we gather the rounds at the municipal courses at Trumbull, Fairfield, and Westport. Just to gauge how we're doing, but also what the industry, so to speak, is doing. And in April, our rounds were 17.4% above the level experienced in 2014, and this group was up 10.8%. Although actually, if you just looked at the other 3 towns individually, their rounds were actually flat, and we were the only ones. Or the other 3 towns collectively, their rounds were flat, and again, ours were up 17%. Yeah. So May.
So let's start with the positive. So the weather has been about as good as you could want it for a month. Maybe a little tough on Dennis's side,
right.
But on my side, I'm pretty excited. Rounds were up 23% after the number I looked at this morning, and that's over prior year. We're up 9% to plan, so you can see a pretty aggressive plan there in the spring. But like I said, we'll pick up on the to budget number as we get in later in the season. But 23% is a pretty significant number if you look at where we were at last year to where we were at this year. So the kind of 2-year span, we've seen some significant increase in the rounds of golf played during the month of May. The revenue, we're going to come in right around between 205 and 210,000. To put that in perspective, we did 187 last year in total revenue for the month. So that's a pretty good number for us. Expenses we'll have some savings in there, so it'll be a nice EBITDA month. In fact, we will be in the same place that we were prior year after May as far as our total net income goes. Now, the reason that's significant is we had a very good year last year, and we know that. But we know with the additional revenue that's available to us from the dues line, and also the growth we're seeing in both Golf Now rounds and then regular play rounds, that really sets us up for a great back half of 2015. So a pretty good omen so far. We like where we're at. The other thing that we are excited about in May, we actually brought on a new head golf professional, Freddie Kolakowski Jr. His father was the head professional at Mill River for about 30 years. Great golfing name in the community. He was an assistant at Bronson. This is a good step for him. So we think From a personnel standpoint, we're very strong. We just got a mystery shop last week, posted our first 100 for the year. So we think from an operating standpoint, kind of everything's firing on all cylinders. The facility's in really good shape. Dennis has done a nice job. We're going to talk about golf course conditions here in a few minutes, but Woodbridge is kind of rocking and rolling right now. So we're excited to get the May kind of tightened up, and a lot of good stuff coming up here in June. Any questions?
And rates, have you been able to hold your expected
We have.
rate?
We have. We've
Okay.
seen a little bit of a little dip in APR on our Golf Now rounds, but we've seen lift in our public rounds. So guys who don't book through a third party. So we've seen a higher number for our non-third party bookings. So our APR up over last year, but our third party APR is down slightly. And what we attribute that to is we've been a little more aggressive on our times, our utilization times. So we've actually lowered the pricing to fill in slots. So while we may lose $1 or $2 in those areas, we're actually generating more revenue. So I believe the number I looked at for May, we picked up about $7,000 on our third-party bookings over prior year. So while the rate was down about $1.50, I think we were at $31.75 last year, and this year, or excuse me, we were at $33 last year. We're about $31.75 this year. So down just a little bit. Still feel okay as far as where we're at.
Do a lot of those golfers come back directly after they're using a source, not us initially?
We do. We actually track that. We have, and you've heard me talk about the Net Promoter Score. We actually send them a survey to see how their experience was. What we found is we get a lot of feedback, one way or the other, about their experience, especially kind of that first or second time guy. But what we find is there's an app that you can put on your phone, and for the younger generation, we're seeing a lot of our younger golfers use this Golf Now app. It's a way for them to, they're always kind of on their phone, kind of the millennial generation. Everything's at their fingertips, and so what we're finding is a lot of our bookings are coming from the third party kind of outlet. And just to give you an idea of the breakout, so yesterday, which is typically one of our busier days of the year, we played 252 rounds of golf. We had 119 member rounds, but we had 100 Golf Now times, and then we had some cards in there, some resident rates, and then a few other things. But as far as kind of the breakout of where people are coming from, especially on the weekends, our third party bookings are pretty strong.
Yeah. So that was almost the 50% from Golf Now.
Yeah. Yep. That's exactly right.
And so, is somebody just buying because they can get the time slot, or is it price, or
convenience, Deke? I think that's what we're finding right now. We have a lot of people who, as we kind of transition as a club, we typically always seen like that older golfer who comes to the club and retired and 55 and over, and what we're finding now is we're starting to get, and not a lot of it, but we're starting to see some younger faces at the club, and we attribute that to one, Golf Now, but two, most of your millennial golfers are reading reviews on on Google, on Yelp, on Diablo, on all these different places, so they have an idea of what they're gonna pay. We provide a very good value for a younger golfer. So somebody who may be 30 years old, who is a young professional, who may not be able to afford $80 or $100 for a round of golf. It's much easier to justify playing in the afternoon for maybe a $29 or a $35 rate. So we think that there's some appeal there with the younger generation between the value created in the product and then also the accessibility through the phone.
and are they coming back?
Yes.
Okay.
And going back to our surveys, we get kind kind of both ends of the spectrum. They show us what we call our detractors and our promoters. So somebody who is a promoter of the facility, they'll send us a survey, and we'll get a look at just a little blurb, maybe 50 or 60 words on how their experience was. And what we find is the younger golfers seem to like it because, one, the price is pretty good, but the value created, meaning the condition, the service, the pace of play, kind of the whole package together, what they get for what they pay seems to be the best in the area. And like I said, with it being a little lower price point, they feel like they're able to take advantage of that. And we do see a lot of repeat business with that. I will get you a stat on how many guys play our facility on a repeat basis, but we think that our average golfer plays our facility between 4 and 5 times a year, which sounds low, but Dee can probably attest to that being a pretty healthy number for a public play.
And are these people buying Advantage cards?
Our Advantage card sales, and we'll take a look at that real quick on the April number. You can see we budgeted our past sales at $1,740. We did $3,467, so the past sales have increased significantly. We're looking at a very similar number in May. I think I've got it projected right now at right around $3,000 on a budget of $1,740. So again,
so people are making like an additional psychological commitment to the place.
I have to say, Tommy, that I was just about ready to point out that for the first time, I think we're seeing a lot more younger golfers, and I'm seeing more women on the golf course.
We have, and we attribute that to the Women on Course program. We've seen, I would say we're one of the more welcoming facilities in Connecticut when it comes to getting ladies to the club, whether it's through a ladies league or Women on Course program, or just, hey, we've got some additional women's stuff in the shop that you may be interested in. So that's definitely been part of our strategy, and that's not just at a Woodbridge level. That's at a Billy Casper level. So.
But there are definitely more younger golfers on the golf course, and it's nice to see.
Yes.
What's the complaint you hear the most?
Complaint. So I would tell you.
Don't tell me when you don't get any.
No. I would tell you that when I started last year, we didn't have but a handful of pace complaints. I would tell you that has increased this year.
Pace of play.
Pace of play. And you have kind of a twofold reason for that. One, obviously the golf course is fuller. When you have more rounds, it's going to take you a longer time to play. The second reason for that is we've seen growth in our membership. Our membership likes to play Saturday and Sunday mornings early. When they play at those earlier times, there's a lot of competition that goes on. Our competitive rounds usually take a shade longer than our regular play rounds. So, for example, if Dennis and I are playing and he's got a 3-footer, I usually tell him to pick it up. But if he's in a tournament, we typically would say, you have to putt that out. So while it may take just an extra minute or two at green, over the course of 18 holes, you'll notice an increase in hitting your round. Those are the two things that we're looking at. We've got some things in place that we're working to improve that. Just some different things that we're going to maybe try. We're talking about maybe a split tee on the weekends to try and drive some more revenue in for maybe the golfer who wants to play Saturday or Sunday morning. We know there's a higher APR there. But it's always...
Not sure. What do you mean by a split tee?
Well, we would have, starting at like 7:30, we would have groups off 1 and 10.
Oh.
And so we would let them go play, and we'd fill it both sides.
Right.
And then we'd actually close the golf course when they crossed over. So say the last group was 10 o'clock, or we said they were going to turn at 9:45. The golf course would be blocked from 9:45 then until, we'll say 12 o'clock for those golfers to finish the turn, and then we would have regular play the rest of the day. Mm-hmm. So that's something that we've had internal conversations that we're not quite ready to roll out yet. There's some details that are pretty critical to making that successful, but we think that's an opportunity for us to generate some more weekday and weekend play. We'd like to double tee maybe in the afternoon during our leagues to increase the value of those afternoon times. So there's some stuff in the pipeline there as far as revenue generation, where we think we're to the point now where we can try some of this stuff, and if it doesn't go well, we're still in good shape. But we want to continue to be aggressive and see what we can come up with.
And early in the year, there was kind of an issue with the carts. You're all set now? Or
Let's say it's a relative term as well. I think
Yeah.
we're still we have a solid strategy in place. We've done a lot of repairs.
and these were mostly batteries? Is that
Yeah,
fair,
and
or-
let me just
Yeah.
give you guys some backstory here,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
you guys understand. When you buy a club car or an Easy Go golf car, the typical time of the lease is a 4-year lease. The golf car is insured or is warranted for the first 3 years. The batteries, in particular, are probably good to run 3 years. We've had some issues where some batteries, because of the terrain at Woodbridge being so up and down, that it has taken its toll on the life of the battery. So while the majority of our batteries are good, there's still a few carts out there that we are looking to either buy new batteries or take batteries from carts that we are currently out of service and then put them into those cars. So there is a strategy there. We'll be looking to maybe get a new fleet here October-ish or even into next year. There's some preliminary talks on what that would look like. But again, for this season, we'll be using the existing carts that we have with some repairs, and we've budgeted for that, so there shouldn't be any major issue there.
Okay. But I mean, so far, well, I mean, obviously there's got to be a couple of fails in the sense of somebody who wanted a cart and not having a cart available. Is the incidence of failure
Well, I would say that
reasonable? Or?
So to give you an example, Deke, right now we have 70 functional golf carts out of our 75. We have 5 that we're still waiting on some, I would say some high-end repair, whether that be front end, a new front end on it, whether it be suspension, whether it be the crankshaft. I mean, these are what I would call higher dollar items, where with the lease expiring, it probably doesn't make sense for us to spend that type of money to fix it. But we could use the rest of that. So while the crankshaft may be bad, the batteries in the car are still good. The windshield's still good. The tires are still good. So we would use that to supplement other carts that are struggling. 70 functional golf carts is still a lot of functional golf carts. If you looked at some of the other facilities in the area, 72 to 80 is pretty typical, but nothing operates at 100%. So for us having 70 functional carts,
Well, 70 puts at least 140 golfers on the
Correct.
golf course, and that's it's hard to put many more than that on a golf
Correct.
course.
Yeah.
And so
Correct.
yeah.
So the issues that we've had with golfers waiting for carts, we think those will go away. Meaning that the additional carts, if we can continue at 70 golf carts, we're going to be in pretty good shape.
Yeah.
So we think, again, pretty good spot there. We're going to swap out some batteries and just a few minor adjustments, and I think we'll be okay for the season.
Okay. Any questions about, or before we get into like course conditions?
No, I think you were lucky enough to hire someone who really is good at that, right? Fixing those.
We do. We actually have a new mechanic, and I'll let Dennis in his spiel talk about it. But a younger gentleman. I mean, really a first class kid. We're excited to have him. Very wise beyond his years, but we think he's going to be a really good fit for us long term. We
Good.
expect good things out of him.
The golf course, is it still there? Oh no, I mean,
It's still there, yes. We are seeing a very abnormal May where it seems like it's summertime right now. It's been very warm, very dry. We were talking earlier about rainfall totals, and on average we're supposed to receive 4.3 inches of rain for the month, and we're not even at an inch actual right now. So it's been very dry, but it's good for business. We've been irrigating the golf course as if it's July or August, so we've been irrigating a lot just to keep it going. I think we're doing good. We're trying to finish up some loose ends here and there. and then just trying to basically just grow grass and really groom for playability, and trying to attack some detailing like trimming and whatnot. We did hire a new assistant who will also be my mechanic, a young fellow who came from Great River Golf Club. He has golf course experience from Greenwich Country Club, as well as, what was the other club he came from? I can't think offhand, but he's in his early 20s. He's from the area, West Haven area.
And he has like 6 years of experience then already?
Several years.
Oh, okay.
Several years.
Yeah, okay.
His father is a golf course mechanic at Country Club in Fairfield, and he's also lent some support already to help us out on a few times. So that's nice to have.
Yeah, yeah.
So far, so good. The kid can do just about everything, and it's just a matter of just teaching him how we do certain things with what we have to work with. But it's so far, so good. He's been very good. He's been very good tackling repair issues, maintaining equipment, outdoor activities. He's been very good. So I think hopefully we can keep him for a while because he is young, and we want to keep him around for a little bit. We are doing very well as far as whatever winter damage we had, mainly on fairways. They're basically growing out very slowly, but they're hardly noticeable at this point. Everything is growing very well, and as I've said to Tommy, when we seem to get around Memorial Day, early June, we seem to kick it into another gear, where of course it's always done very well going forward.
The growth, yeah.
It's just difficult for whatever reason. Maybe it's the area. It just takes us a little while to get going. But now we're in a good place where we're hitting the ground running, and it's steady sailing from here. So,
How does, I mean, obviously May is a big month for applying chemicals, things like that. Does the lack of rainfall interfere with that, or in terms of like the absorption of the chemicals, or
the lack of rainfall has been the idea has been kicked around by several specialists at various universities in the area as far as insects, insect control, crabgrass, pre-emergence, things like that nature. So definitely the dryness has something to do with it, where it seems to slow things down on some of the insects. And
so have you delayed some of the applications then as a result of that, or what?
We have approximate target dates, but we fine-tune it based on what the weather is
and what you see. Yeah.
So we have delayed some applications based on the dryness, based on temperatures. It was just a screwy spring where it seemed like April 4th we opened. We had snow in some of the sand traps still open. And then all of a sudden, boom, it's 80 degrees, and it went from like 0 to 60 in no time. So it's just like, it was a whirlwind there for a while because you just didn't know which end was up, and the things you normally would apply, it was an insecticide or herbicide, when you normally apply it, you just had to wait and just hold on, and then when the conditions were favorable for putting those out, you did. It just was very strange, but it was just a very compressed spring.
How does that affect wetting agents?
They don't like to work very well.
Yeah, I mean, I would think,
typically, the weather we've been having, I mean, you'd be more into a summer-type program of wetting agents, a different type of wetting agent that would give you the retention of water. Normally in the spring and fall, we're looking to move water with a penetrant, moving water down and through. It just doesn't retain much. So that's what we're seeing a lot of issues where the water is going in because we are using a penetrant type of wetting agent, but there's little to no retention. So we still are reapplying, but at least it's going in the ground.
Right.
But the ground is so dry.
You talked a little bit about the growth regulator earlier in the year.
Yeah, that too. the bronzing effect that we got. But
Yeah.
it wasn't just us; it was every course that was using that particular product. For
The
seeding
Embark?
suppression.
Yeah, yeah.
The Embark.
Yeah.
It does. It's a bronzing type product, and
Yeah.
putting an iron nutrient in with it was supposed to counteract it. Could never get it to work to neutralize it. I
Oh.
always get bronzed.
Well, but and with more rain, does it? I don't know, wash it off, sort of, or I mean,
No.
or
No, it just seems that the dryness brings the more bronzing out.
Okay.
That's what I think, because even my neighbor at Oak Lane next door, he said he doesn't normally use this Embark product
Yeah.
like we do every year, and he said he's seen some very strange dry wilt on his grass that he doesn't normally see.
I'm sorry, but and this is the first year you used Embark.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So he was
Interesting.
very surprised what he saw.
I mean, it's been
It's
used
difficult.
at Racebrook for a number of years. And honestly, I don't know if it's still used, but yeah.
It's a good product as far as suppressing the seed heads on the annual bluegrass, but you do have this bronzing effect. So,
Yeah.
you know.
And so that's what we see, or we would see on the fifth green.
It was everywhere.
Yeah.
It was everywhere.
Well, I know. I guess maybe it's more prevalent,
Five is a dry green,
yeah.
and we were a few weeks after aerification, and they had gotten a heavy sanding from aerification. So, couple that with dryness, a dry green,
Yeah.
get sun all day long, maybe dried down too much. Now you had the Embark on it. It had all kinds of everything was piling up
Yeah.
in there.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
it is slowly recovering. We are seeing the bent grass fill in pretty nicely now. But we need to get out and start our regular top dressing program and brushing, and it'll help smooth things out and improve the growing environment. But all in all, I mean, I think we're where we need to be right now. The course is in good
Yeah.
shape. People are happy, getting a lot of compliments. I'd like
Yeah,
to,
it,
like
you
to
know,
see
looks
some
good.
rain, but
Plays well, yeah.
we're all right. We're good.
Now, I know before we started the meeting, you updated us on the first, or the improvements around the first green, or the removal of the traps,
Correct.
and basically we're almost ready to sod.
Correct.
Is that?
The sand traps around the first green. There's 3 of them. They were filled in. 2 of the 3 were filled in before the snow hit in January. We did get back a few weeks ago to fill in the last one. I've installed the drainage today. I started to backfill a sand on top of the drainage today. I'll finish that tomorrow. I'll do the final grading of them tomorrow. And then at that point, I'll call, and we've got several local, in-state, I'll call them local, sod farms I'm going to contact and see when we can get sodded. I'm looking to target delivery on Tuesday, maybe install Wednesday.
Is that the bluegrass?
Yes. Bluegrass.
Even the front one also blue?
Yeah, all of them.
Okay.
Bluegrass, maybe some rye,
Yeah.
whiskey one. Get a little blend, mix in there.
Okay. Okay. Last year we seemed to have a lot of success on the 7th hole with the painted cart path. But the paint seems to have worn off or grown out. I don't know which way. Are we going to put that back in? Or
When I see that we're going to have a wet period, we may have to go to pass, I'll paint it down.
yeah.
So at this point, I'm just letting them scatter, and then when we see that we're going to get a wet period where we need those paths, I'll
Okay.
paint them up.
Okay.
Yeah, I see no reason to paint them if we don't need them.
I'm just amazed with the path on one, or that's been created or whatever by you
perfect.
painted the path and everybody pays attention to it. I mean, it's whoa.
Doesn't even need to be excavated.
Yeah, it's like yeah. The edges are good and everything.
Yeah.
And what's going on? 13, that drainage along the service road.
Okay, what I did
Yeah.
there was I'm not even going to go there, but someone installed drainage on 13, and what they did was they extended the drainage lines, and there's 4 lines. They go into the service path between 13 and 12, and they had it daylight onto 12 rough, which was washing our new paths out.
Okay. Okay.
So what I did was I disconnected the pipes prior to the service path on the 13 side, and I'm going to elbow them up and then just put caps on them, grate caps, so when those drains do run water, they'll come up through the grate caps and then run along the service road and eventually down to the lake. They're not
So
gonna
there's
run across
no-
number 12.
There's no pipe going like from that point down under the 12th fairway?
No, they were just letting it dump onto the fairway,
Wow.
and it was washing up the cart
Okay.
path that we installed.
Okay.
So I just figured, well, let's keep the water on the service path instead of dumping it on
Better
the
than,
well,
yeah,
and
yeah.
let gravity take it down and work its way down to the lake down below.
And I'm trying, and you have enough of a curb, you think, to
Oh yeah.
retain that additional water? Okay. Okay. And 18th green? It looks a little better,
I think
but
it's better.
you feel good,
The
yeah.
middle has filled in quite a bit.
Yeah, yeah.
Some of the plug repairs I did are doing very well. Still
Yeah.
have some low spots on the lower right edge of the green. I still need to maybe get in there and lift a little bit with a pitchfork and kind of massage it a little bit to smooth it out. But it has healed up quite a bit in the middle. It's just a little bumpy. I got to get some sand out, brush it, and do some crimping here and there to improve the playability of it. But it is doing much better. We did have the airification in
Yeah.
late April and in mid-May. So it got 2 shots. We did the practice green, we did 1 green, and we did 18. So we'll see benefits from that down the road from pumping the air in, and the green will be healthy. I think we're already seeing some benefits to it already.
Yeah, this is a process where air is actually injected under the turf to, just
Shatter the
like
soil.
create less compaction or it's kind of interesting watching it in process. Yeah. And water, have you had to buy water yet?
I haven't intentionally tried to buy water.
I'm not sure what that means.
Oh, I know what that means.
We had a sensor issue where water was activated, but it wasn't our fault. So I guess we have to figure out what's going to happen with that one.
Okay, but I thought well, for one, that the meter was separated.
Well, it was, yes.
Yeah.
But for some reason, a sensor had corroded in the water tank that activated the bypass. So water
Gotcha.
flowed when
Yep.
we didn't activate the switch. A sensor corroded, fell
Yep.
down,
Yep.
and activated the bypass.
Okay.
So we're not sure who's going to be liable for that
Okay.
cost. I don't know.
Okay.
I got some stuff on demographic if you want.
Yeah, but any course
Last
conditions,
summer, in July and
issues, or
August, how was
Yeah.
your water supply?
We had a wet spring last year, so we were pretty abundant all through June, from what I remember.
And do you think we had a normal May last year? With about the 4 inches you talked about?
I'd have to go back and look, but I think we were.
yeah, early in May there were a number of rainy days. I thought. Yeah.
Because I remember having a full lake going
Yeah.
well into June.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if it continues dry, will we have any problems later on?
Well,
We like
they'll
to
have to
control
buy water,
Yeah.
or it just is the issue. Yeah.
There
Yeah.
is one good thing about being dry in the spring is the plant is conditioned. We'll call it. It'll grow its longest roots in the spring of any time of the year. So by keeping the conditions dry or having dry conditions, the plant is conditioned to go deeper looking for moisture.
Solid and deep.
Right. So we certainly don't want to baby it in the spring by putting irrigation out. I'll let it get dry, very dry, to get those roots to stretch. And at some point we have to call it quits and have to start irrigating. But we'd like to think that this dry spring is really going to set us up for a stronger plant going to the summer months.
Good.
Okay. Yeah, you had some.
Yeah, just some
like
demographic stuff I wanted
yeah.
to chat with you guys about. Not a big surprise. The majority of our play comes within a 10-mile radius. Since it's close to your house, it's convenient. We find that's pretty typical. What I want to share with you, though, is the majority of our play obviously coming from Woodbridge, Seymour, Orange, and Ansonia. There is one town, Hamden, which we've seen a pretty significant jump in play, and we attribute that to maybe some friends coming over from another club. So we think that, again, nothing too shocking there. Typically, our average player 55 plus, but we've seen an influx of younger players. I do want to point out one interesting stat. So we have 49 outings on the book for this year. As far as the age demographic, though, on this, the majority of our outing coordinators, 45 of the 49 between ages 40 and 60. Now, where this is significant is this helps us target specifically in our emails a certain age demographic. So this is going to be geared towards families. This is going to be geared towards kind of that active lifestyle. And the reason for that is we find that some of these a lot of these events are for charity or for youth sports teams as fundraisers. So the nice thing about this little tidbit of information is we can now take this little kind of discovery and then plug it into our database. And now we have access to 20,000 names. We can go through and segment specifically kind of our outing program and target them pretty specifically with detailed emails. So we think while the outing sales have been really good, and we've done a lot of cold calling, a lot of techniques that we use, we'd like to kind of pinpoint that demographic because we've seen a pretty good ROI on it so far. And the other thing, remember, we didn't invent the wheel, but we all have cars and we're more than happy to take advantage of it. Deke gave us a pretty good idea about possibly hosting some grad parties. So we actually have something in the queue where we think this is going to be an opportunity for us.
It would be golf related?
These would actually be maybe more food and beverage related, where we would actually utilize the spacing in the tent. The nice thing that we're excited about is we're able to offer a guest not only the pavilion space, but and obviously an on-site caterer, but we also have pool access. We also have tennis and ping pong and cornhole and driving range. So maybe some amenities that are atypical of what you would think at a graduation party, but for the kid who's 17 or 18 and wants to have his buddies over at his graduation party and they want something to do, we think that there's an opportunity as far as talking to mom and dad and saying, well, hey, I'd like to have it at the country club, and here's why, because I can play all the games I want and everything's right there. This is actually a lot of fun for me, and we think that the facility sets up pretty well, and we don't have a lot of expense in it. So.
Yeah, I don't know if you've ever been through that, but I mean, to try to rent a tent that accommodates that many people, as well as, the porta potties, etc.
Right.
You're going for like $3,000.
Yeah, that's exactly.
And
right.
you don't have the other
Yeah.
on-site amenities. Yeah.
So we're excited. We think that's going to be an opportunity for us to kind of put a little whipped cream on that number for the year. So.
Good.
The other nice thing about the 40 to 60 age group that you mentioned is that they probably have earned that spot and probably will have it for a year or two. So if they're treated well, they're going to be
That's
back.
exactly right. That's exactly right. We've seen that as far as our bookings for this year. We didn't lose much over prior year. But what's really exciting for us is as far as the new outings that are coming in, the experience has been much better than their previous facilities. So the word of mouth from year to year was really good, but we think that where we'll really see the growth is next year, and that's pretty typical on what we would budget in a plan. But we know that as far as that value created, that we're probably the best bang for your buck in town.
Well, it's important for any organization that's trying to raise money,
Yeah.
because for the most part they can still charge, well, their
X,
customers
right, yeah.
or their attendees or whatever
Right.
the same amount of money, but they're not leaving
Right.
behind
Right.
as much of it, for the use of the facility. And yeah.
Any other questions?
Does that 10-mile radius hold for outings? Meaning where the organization might be?
We do see a little disparity as far as that goes. And I'll tell you one of our techniques, Dolph, and this is terrible, but it's true. All things being equal, friends buy from friends. All things being unequal, friends still buy from friends. So we've done a really nice job of networking, and it may be a little bit out of our demographic, but I would say that obviously we're going to host Amity's event this year, and we do some stuff with the United Way at Milford, but we're also I'm in a class in Southbury where we just pulled in an event. We got the connection. They were actually at Tunxus before they came to us, so they came down. We've got another event coming up here, West Haven Hockey. These guys, again, we hosted somebody's event last year. We networked with the gentleman. He said, I have a friend who would be looking to host an event here. Those guys came over. So I would say that while you typically fall in that 10-mile radius, the networking component may go a little beyond that. It's not as tight as that typical daily fee there.
Anything else? Are there any agenda things that we should establish for the June meeting? Or anything in particular that anybody would like to see? I mean, I can work with Tommy on some things. Excuse me?
Said anybody disappearing? No?
I don't know. Yeah.
A little early maybe for disappearing.
Yeah.
They usually disappear when the kids are out of school or something.
Yeah. Okay. I will do the honor of proposing that we adjourn.
I will second that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Apologize, I was running a little late today.